So this has been called the biggest marketing fumble in history. And I mentioned in a previous video, I did work for marketing agencies, and I worked for an agency where Nike was our client. So I know how on top of things that Nike is. And this is one of those things that I personally just did not understand, because the excuse was that it takes all this time. And I do understand how it takes time, but LeBron James, he had his shoe in his rookie year. Steph Curry with Under Armour, he had his shoe, I think, within a year. So I'm not sure what the difference is.
I heard Asia Wilson, Sha'Carri, Sabrina, Sabalenka. Oh, that's right. I didn't hear Caitlyn Clark's name. That's why we don't jump for joy when Nike does one good thing. Oh, one good thing. Nike's Nike at the end of the day. There's a reason why their stock has been crashing.
And now with Nike, they're listing out the names of this. And of course, who do they ignore? The number 22 out of Indiana.
But now Nike put out how they really feel about Miss Clark. Let's take a look.
You want to know what I'm selling? I'm selling greatness. Asia Wilson, 3-time MVP. We got Jordan Childs. We got Juju Watkins. We got Sha'Carri Richardson.
Okay.
And we got Arena Sabalenka.
Champion.
Hustling is not easy, but I love it. Sabrina, I know you want to cheat.
Something that stood out among the Caitlyn Clark fan base is them not mentioning Caitlyn Clark's name at all in this whole damn ad. Now, one person said, why wasn't Caitlyn Clark's name said? The other person said, they don't say Caitlyn Clark's name in this ad.
How dare you put out a commercial with Caitlyn Clark's merchandise saying everyone's name but Caitlyn Clark? My dad could watch that commercial 75 times. He will only know Sabalenka's name. My wife will watch that commercial 75 times and she'll say, they're really going to show Caitlyn Clark's shirt and not mention her name? Oh, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Nike made a massive mistake in their latest campaign, and fans are not happy about it. Let's dive into this epic marketing failure. Nike, a brand known for its iconic ads and legendary partnerships, has been caught in yet another controversy. It's not the first time their marketing has fallen short, but this one feels different. They've managed to ignore one of the most important figures in women's basketball today, Caitlyn Clark, and fans are outraged. In their recent ad campaign, released right after the Super Bowl, Nike chose to focus on a few big names but left out Caitlyn Clark, the star who's been breaking records, attracting NBA-level viewership, and dominating the WNBA conversation. This isn't just a minor oversight, it's a glaring omission that has the internet buzzing. How could a brand as influential as Nike make such a blunder? Let's break it down. After the Super Bowl, Nike dropped a brand new ad that had everyone talking, but not for the reasons they might have hoped. The ad aired at prime time, the perfect moment to capitalize on the hype and grab the attention of millions. The timing was flawless, but what followed has left fans and critics questioning Nike's marketing choices. The ad featured several well-known athletes, including Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Juju Watkins, Sha'Carri Richardson, and others. These athletes are certainly stars in their own right. Asia Wilson is a 3-time MVP, Sabrina Ionescu is a standout point guard, and Sha'Carri Richardson is an elite sprinter. But the glaring issue? Caitlyn Clark, the most talked-about player in women's basketball today, was nowhere to be found. Caitlyn Clark has taken the sports world by storm. She's been shattering records, drawing NBA-level viewership to women's basketball, and creating excitement around the sport that hasn't been seen in years. With her jersey flying off the shelves and arenas packed to the brim for her games, it's almost unbelievable that Nike, a company built on innovation and cutting-edge campaigns, would choose to exclude her from such a high-profile ad. This wasn't just an oversight. It was a missed opportunity to embrace the biggest name in the sport right now. By leaving Caitlyn Clark out, Nike not only ignored a superstar athlete, but also risked alienating her massive fan base. Caitlyn Clark is not just another player in the WNBA, she is a trailblazer, revolutionizing women's basketball in ways that no one could have predicted. Over the past few seasons, she's been breaking records left and right. capturing the attention of basketball fans everywhere. Her playstyle, marked by deep three-pointers, fast breaks, and relentless drive, has earned her comparisons to NBA legends. In fact, her performances have been pulling in NBA-level viewership, with her games often outperforming men's college basketball in terms of viewers. Caitlyn Clark is a phenomenon. Her jersey sells out within minutes, her games are packed to the brim, and entire networks are now scrambling to air her matches in prime time. Her influence goes beyond the court. She's inspired young girls to pick up a basketball and made people who never watched women's sports become dedicated fans. She's not just an athlete, she's a movement. She's the face of women's basketball, and her popularity transcends the sport itself. Nike couldn't have asked for a more marketable star. Now, contrast that with the players featured in the recent Nike ad, like Juju Watkins. While Juju has undeniable potential and is still a rising star in the game, she hasn't had the same seismic impact on women's basketball that Caitlyn Clark has. Juju's career is just beginning, and while she's getting plenty of attention, it's nowhere near the level that Caitlyn is commanding right now. The same goes for A'ja Wilson. While she's a dominant force in the WNBA, her marketability hasn't reached the heights of Caitlyn Clark, whose influence extends far beyond just basketball fans. The case is clear. Caitlyn Clark should have been front and center in this campaign. She's not only breaking records, but also pushing the boundaries of what women's sports can achieve in terms of viewership and cultural impact. By excluding her, Nike missed an opportunity to celebrate the most exciting, marketable, and influential player in the game today. If Nike truly wants to lead the charge for the future of women's sports, they need to put Caitlyn Clark at the forefront. She is, without a doubt, the face of women's basketball, and it's time Nike recognized that. This isn't the first time Nike has failed to give Caitlyn Clark the attention she truly deserves. In fact, it seems like a pattern that keeps repeating itself. Despite her record-breaking performances, her massive fan base, and the undeniable impact she's had on women's basketball, Nike has continually overlooked her in favor of promoting other athletes, some of whom haven't even come close to matching Caitlyn's level of influence. When Caitlyn was making waves in college, breaking records and drawing record-breaking crowds, Nike seemed to be slow to react. While other players were getting major promotional deals, Caitlyn's name was often left out of the conversation. Nike's marketing seemed to treat her like just another talented player, not the groundbreaking force she was. Even when Caitlyn was in the spotlight, with networks clamoring to air her games and her jersey sales soaring, Nike failed to capitalize on the opportunity to make her the face of women's basketball. Instead, the company continued to push athletes like A'ja Wilson and Sabrina Ionescu, both incredible talents, no doubt, but ones who simply didn't generate the same level of excitement or viewership that Caitlyn did. A'ja Wilson, despite being a three-time MVP, doesn't quite have the same cultural impact that Caitlyn Clark has created by herself. Similarly, Sabrina Ionescu has been a key player, but again, her influence hasn't been on the same scale as Caitlyn's meteoric rise. Nike's focus on these players might be part of their long-standing relationships, but it's clear that they're missing the boat when it comes to truly acknowledging the player who has had the greatest influence on the game. Time and time again, Nike has chosen to ignore Caitlyn Clark's rising star in favor of pushing other athletes with less marketable appeal, and in doing so, they've missed out on a golden opportunity to be a part of the Caitlyn Clark phenomenon. When you're talking about the future of women's basketball, there's no question that Caitlyn is leading the charge. Nike needs to recognize that if they want to remain at the forefront of women's sports marketing, they must stop sidelining the game's biggest star. Caitlyn Clark's marketability is nothing short of extraordinary. She has rapidly become one of the most recognizable names in sports, not just in women's basketball, but in the broader sports world as a whole. Her fan base has been growing exponentially, and it's easy to see why. Fans are captivated not only by her record-breaking performances, but also by her magnetic personality and her undeniable impact on the game. Her games are packed, her jersey sells out in record time, and the media is clamoring to cover her every move. Caitlyn Clark is quickly becoming a cultural icon, and her influence is spreading far beyond the basketball court. When Caitlyn takes the court, it's more than just a game. It's an event. Her presence has drawn NBA-level viewership to women's basketball, breaking barriers for the sport and making it more mainstream. The hype around her games is palpable, with fans lining up outside arenas to watch her play and entire networks shifting their schedules to air her matches in prime time. This kind of buzz around a player is something that can only be compared to the top stars in professional sports, like LeBron James or Stephen Curry. Caitlyn's ability to capture the attention of both casual fans and diehard basketball enthusiasts has positioned her as one of the most marketable athletes today. However, despite her skyrocketing popularity, Nike continues to overlook her in favor of other athletes who, while talented, haven't garnered the same level of cultural influence. Fans have noticed this, and the backlash has been loud and clear. Nike's repeated snubs have frustrated her dedicated fanbase, who feel that the brand is taking Caitlyn for granted. It's only a matter of time before other companies, ones that recognize Caitlyn's potential, start to swoop in and capitalize on her growing popularity. Brands like Adidas and Under Armour are likely already eyeing Caitlyn as the next big sports ambassador, and it's not hard to see why. In fact, Caitlyn Clark's marketability is on par with some of the biggest names in sports. Her jersey sales alone show just how much she's resonating with fans. Imagine the revenue a brand could generate by making Caitlyn the face of their campaign. She's the perfect combination of talent, influence, and authenticity, qualities that make her an invaluable asset to any company. As other brands start to recognize her star power, Nike's hesitation to fully embrace Caitlyn Clark may end up costing them in the long run. The market is shifting, and Caitlyn Clark is at the forefront of that change. Brands that act now will reap the benefits of associating themselves with this rising superstar. Nike's ongoing reluctance to fully embrace Caitlyn Clark is baffling, especially considering the massive impact she's had on viewership, attendance, and overall fan engagement. Caitlyn Clark isn't just another athlete. She's a marketing powerhouse. The hype surrounding her is akin to that of some of the biggest NBA stars, yet Nike seems hesitant to push her to the forefront. Why is that? The truth is, Nike's strategy appears to be deeply flawed, and it's failing to capitalize on one of the brightest stars in sports right now. One possible explanation for Nike's hesitation is that they may be clinging to established partnerships with athletes who have been with them for years, such as A'ja Wilson and Sabrina Ionescu. But this approach ignores a fundamental shift happening in the sports world. Caitlyn Clark's meteoric rise isn't something you can predict, nor is it something to be overlooked. The market is evolving, and Nike is stuck in the past, relying on outdated models of promotion. This situation mirrors the early years of top NBA stars like LeBron James, who was immediately given his own signature shoe the moment he entered the league. The decision was based on recognition of his potential to become not only a great player, but also a cultural phenomenon. LeBron's influence was clear from day one, and Nike wisely capitalized on that. Similarly, players like Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant were given signature shoes early in their careers due to their star power and the growing audience for basketball. Nike understood the value of positioning them as the faces of their brand from the start. So why is Nike treating Caitlyn Clark so differently? The lack of a signature shoe deal for Caitlyn, despite her record-breaking performances and popularity, is a glaring misstep. In the past, Nike didn't hesitate to back players with the potential to dominate the sports world. But with Caitlyn Clark, they're missing the boat. She's doing what many male athletes haven't been able to do, bringing a new level of attention to women's basketball and inspiring a whole new generation of fans. Her jersey sales, packed arenas, and rising media coverage should be clear signals to Nike that Caitlyn is a force to be reckoned with. Yet, they seem to be waiting, perhaps unsure of whether she's truly a long-term asset. Nike's failure to fully invest in Caitlyn Clark is a massive misjudgment of the current sports market. The landscape is changing, and fans are more than ever looking for athletes who are not just good at their sport, but who also bring excitement, influence, and personality to the table. Caitlyn Clark is doing exactly that. By not capitalizing on her success, Nike is not only missing a major opportunity to promote an athlete who is breaking records and filling arenas, but they're also failing to connect with a generation of fans who are excited by what Caitlyn represents, the future of women's sports. It's not just a marketing failure, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of where the market is heading. Nike has the chance to be at the forefront of this revolution, but instead, they're choosing to stick with their tried-and-true formula, one that's not working for Caitlyn Clark. If Nike doesn't act quickly, they'll lose out to other brands eager to capitalize on her stardom. And by then, it may be too late. So, what's next for Caitlyn Clark? While Nike's marketing blunders continue to ignore her, one thing is certain: Caitlyn's future is bright, and she's only going to keep rising above it all. Despite the lack of recognition from one of the biggest brands in sports, Caitlyn has shown she doesn't need anyone to tell her worth. Her game speaks for itself. With her talent, work ethic, and undeniable influence on the sport, she's not just a passing trend. She's a lasting force in basketball, and the WNBA's future rests in her hands. While Nike may be dragging their feet, Caitlyn is already making waves outside of their brand. There's a huge potential for Caitlyn to start her own line, perhaps even her own brand entirely. With her growing fan base and the demand for her merchandise, creating her own brand could be the logical next step. Imagine a 22 collection, a nod to her iconic jersey number, that could rival some of the biggest names in sports apparel. As we've seen with other athletes who've struck out on their own, the market is more than willing to support a player who is not just a sports icon but a cultural one as well. But don't be fooled. Nike's loss could very well be another brand's gain. Adidas, Under Armour, or even a more niche brand could step in and make Caitlyn Clark the face of their next big campaign. If Nike continues to miss the mark, it's only a matter of time before another company capitalizes on the immense star power Caitlyn brings to the table. They would be foolish not to. With her ability to break viewership records, sell out jerseys, and inspire a whole new generation of fans, Caitlyn Clark is the kind of athlete who could elevate any brand she aligns with. At the end of the day, Caitlyn Clark's journey is just beginning, and the rest of the sports world will soon have no choice but to recognize her. Whether it's Nike or another brand that decides to embrace her, Caitlyn is poised to take the sports world by storm, transcending basketball to become a true global icon. As her career continues to evolve, so will her influence, and nothing, not even marketing missteps, can slow her down. The world is watching, and Caitlyn Clark is about to prove that she's not just the future of women's basketball, she's the future of sports, period. Nike has undeniably fumbled a major opportunity by failing to fully embrace Caitlyn Clark. In a time when women's sports are gaining unprecedented attention and popularity, Caitlyn is not just another player, she's the face of the future of basketball. By neglecting her in their recent ad campaign, Nike has missed out on aligning with one of the most marketable athletes of this generation. As a result, the brand risks losing out on major revenue, fan loyalty, and credibility, especially as other companies begin to realize the potential of Caitlyn Clark's influence. The consequences of this blunder could be far-reaching. Nike's marketing team may have underestimated just how much Caitlyn's fan base and marketability could drive the brand forward, and in doing so, they've let this golden opportunity slip through their fingers. If Nike doesn't act soon, they may find themselves outpaced by competitors eager to support Caitlyn in the way she deserves. But now, it's over to you. What do you think of Nike's decision to overlook Caitlyn Clark in their latest campaign? Do you think they'll ever recognize her true value, or will other brands step in to fill the void? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and share your predictions for Caitlyn's future in the game. One thing's for sure, her journey is far from over, and we're all watching closely.